Hello, I'm Commissioner Charlotte Garrido. Welcome to Commissioner's Corner. Fasten your seatbelts because we're going to look at some aviation. In fact, we're going to the Paris Air Show. Bremerton Port Commissioner Axel Strakeljahn, and if I could call you just Axel, I'd appreciate that, is joining me today to describe the growing importance of aerospace here in Kitsap County. Thank you, Axel, for being here today. So much for taking the time out to talk to us a little bit about the Air Show and about aerospace and aviation possibilities in Kitsap County.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, and thank you for the invitation. It's very exciting times in our county, very exciting businesses landing here and existing businesses continuing. So, you know, our presence at this international convention or exhibit is really critical at this point in time of growth.
Well, actually, Washington State is big in aviation and aerospace, and actually we factor into the global economy quite well. So the Paris Air Show is likely the single largest aviation and aerospace show or the industry conference in the whole world, and so it was important for us to be there. And I think that if you would talk a little bit, or if we could talk today about some of the interactions that we had there. We had lots and lots of meetings. We saw we even saw a spaceship on site. So let's introduce folks at home to what we saw there. And if you'd like to join us, come on along.
We were here with the KADA delegation from Kitsap. This is Monday morning, first day at the show. We're just setting up. This is the Washington State booth, and as you can see, it represents many of the companies in our region, as well as our aerospace clusters. Here we have County Commissioner Garrido.
Good morning and welcome to La Bourget.
John Powers, our Executive Director of EDA of KADA.
On Kitsap.
And our co-director, Tim
Axel,
Thompson.
good morning to you.
Good morning.
Mighty fine day, isn't it? Commissioner's Corner. Two hands, Axel.
Welcome, Patrick. Patrick, maybe you could tell us why we're here and what we're doing here in the Air Show this year.
Here is an opportunity to both meet with our existing aerospace clients. Many of them come from places throughout the world and may have facilities in the Puget Sound, so a great way to connect with leadership, international leadership, as well as meet with companies that have an interest in being a part of this amazing aerospace cluster here, one of the finest in the world, where we produce 86% of all commercial airplanes.
Wow. Well said, Patrick. So, Commissioner and Mr. Powers, tell us a little bit about KADA and how we're represented here.
Thank you. Well, about 7 years ago, our economic development organization called the Kitsap Economic Development Alliance and its strategic partners, including Kitsap County, the Port of Bremerton, the community at large, came together and said we should get in and focus our efforts on the growing aerospace industry, and with an emphasis on defense, because as we know, Kitsap is a leader in the defense industry in Washington State. So we're combining both aerospace and defense activities. We're here to promote companies in our community that are in that space and attract new companies to come in and invest and grow jobs in Kitsap, in particular aerospace and defense.
So I might add that this particular show, this time we have 20 meetings set up with potential clients for Kitsap. These are companies who have shown interest in learning more about what Kitsap has to offer, the Port of Bremerton and airport out there, and we look forward. This is going to be our busiest show. We have meetings all through the week. If we're lucky, we might get to see a little of the air operations, but my guess is we'll be spending most of our time with high-level decision makers in discussing the attributes of Kitsap and why they need to expand their business or locate to our beautiful area.
Air Conference, or Air Show as it's called, last year had 316,000 visitors. There were over 2,453 business exhibits. And that's really our main purpose when we do attend that conference, is to really address the businesses that are critical and crucial to our region. There were General Electric itself did $55 billion in business, and there were $69 billion created in plane orders at this air conference.
Say that number again.
$69 billion in plane orders were created at the International Air Show this past year. So you can see that there's considerable amount of contribution to the economics of, as well as state of Washington and the United States as well. So we go there with a particular mission in mind. We have partnered successfully with the Washington State Department of Commerce and with other aviation counties in our region, such as Pierce, Snohomish, and King. And we are a definite presence when we go to the air show. Boeing being based here in Washington State also contributes to that, but also our defense contractors that we work with here in Kitsap and at the port, they're also at these air shows. Any company that builds anything for an airplane, a spaceship, or a defense item is at this particular event. And that's why it's important that we are meeting with those individuals, because they're also in our region here. Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, UTI, Raytheon, just to name a few of the very large companies.
You're not enthused about this, are you?
Am I enthused? I'm kind of excited about it, to be honest with you, because it's really vital that we're there. If we aren't there, who is really promoting and supporting our region and to create jobs in our community?
Well, for me, yes, absolutely, create jobs in our community. But for me, it's about the communications, the coordination, the relationships that we're able to bring to the air show and that we add to and implement while we're there. So if we could just talk a little bit about who the team was that went and who the bigger Washington State team was. I think the viewers at home would really appreciate knowing, first of all, that there were 4 of us that went on behalf of Kitsap County, and then the State Department of Commerce and the Governor's Office really implement a healthy Washington State complement of folks who go and messages that they help us convey.
Thank you so much, Emily, and to Greater Seattle Partners. Thank you for putting on this event today. I'm going to get a chance to thank the Department of Commerce in just a moment, but I want to thank all the delegates who came here, who traveled 9.5 hours to be here with us. Despite being one of the farthest places in the United States from Paris, nevertheless have the largest delegation in state history, with over 80 members of our delegation to the 2019 Paris Air Show. It's so impressive, and I know Governor Inslee, were he here today, would say just how proud he is of the level of excitement and enthusiasm that we have for aerospace, as demonstrated by this impressive delegation. We are here for 3 reasons. We're here this week, first of all, to support our member companies that are delegates in this trade mission, and to help them to identify business opportunities to grow and expand, to let the world know, including current and potential customers, about the quality of aerospace goods and services that we provide at every level of the supply chain in Washington State. So that's the first reason that we're here, is to support our companies on the trade mission. The second reason is to identify recruitment opportunities. And we've had a wonderful week of doing that, as we've told the story of why this state, with the best, most educated aerospace labor force, with the cheapest and cleanest power, with the most competitive tax policy for aerospace, why Washington is the #1 state for aerospace. And you're going to hear more about that by someone who's more objective than I am in just a few minutes. So that's the second reason we're here. And the third reason we're here is, in some ways, maybe even more important, and that is to show our support and solidarity for the aerospace sector. You know, some of you may have heard me say this a couple days ago, that I think when we're honest with ourselves here, all of the 100,000 plus people at this air show will recognize that there's something special about aerospace. There's something different about aerospace and aviation. It's not just like any other sector. Because every single time a plane heads into the sky, whether we're on board or you're watching it from the earth, our imagination is activated and engaged, and we have a sense of wonder in the capacity of humanity to do wonderful things, to overcome obstacles and barriers, and even physics itself, to reach for the stars. And that's why we feel so passionately. But in Washington State, it's not just the freight mobility, the tourism and connectivity for businesses, the ability to have relationships with people around the world and meet face-to-face with others. It's not all those things. It's also a way of life for us and key to our economy. It is central to who we are, and it represents business opportunities and jobs, family wage jobs in 39 out of 39 counties in Washington State. So I could not be more excited to be here on behalf of Governor Inslee and our state legislature to let the world know that Washington State continues to be the hub and center of the aerospace industry in our world.
We've had the chance to compare numbers. A couple of observations really become clear. One is that support from local and state governments is enormously important. Just having that level of infrastructure support, tax policies, and of course educational policies is enormously important in making a place competitive.
Well, we're here with members of the Department of Commerce. Lisa Brown is a former Senate Majority Leader and Director of Commerce now.
Yes.
And welcome. Thank you for having a few minutes to talk with me.
Well, thank you. We're glad you're here in Paris with us to help promote aerospace in Washington State.
Thank you. And Chris Green is the Assistant Deputy Director. He's the Assistant Director for Commerce. Thank you for joining us today, Chris.
Happy to be here.
So I think the most important thing is that we in Kitsap County are delighted to be working on aerospace, and it's important to our economy, and it's an evolving, developing sector at the present time. But it's a really important sector already for Washington State. So could you just talk a little bit about what Washington State is doing and what Commerce is doing at this point in terms of aerospace?
Well, the aerospace sector and the growing pieces of it related to space and autonomous vehicles is very significant to our economy all across the state. And I think most people know of the big name companies like Boeing, but they may not know that we actually have over 1,400 companies that are involved in one way or another in the aerospace industry.
In terms of composites or different kinds of machining?
Right, and it's these are good jobs.
Absolutely.
And so being here, we're able to hear directly from the companies what their future looks like. We're able to talk with them about what it would be like to be in Washington State or to grow their presence in Washington State, hear about their workforce needs, and meet directly with our economic development partners in our companies. Chris, how many companies do we have with us this time?
We've got about 20 companies with us right now, and so that's a pretty big number. And these are companies, by the way, that don't typically have the capacity to do like a big booth of their own, have a big show presence. So these are mid-sized companies. These are companies that mostly grew up in Washington State and are seeing the gains from a global industry like aerospace. And our role really is to be a support network for them. So we'll be at the show. We're going to help them. We're going to bring them, get them some grant funds, and hopefully they get to come here, have access to a global market, get access to that Airbus supply chain, diversify their business portfolio, and look at their growth opportunity for the next 10, 20, 40 years in aerospace. So that's our role here this week, and we're really excited, not only with the 20 companies that are here, but the 70 plus members of our delegation that are all here promoting Washington State. That's what it's all about.
And there's a recent ranking that came out, the Teal report, that says that once again, we're really the #1 state in aerospace.
One.
And #1. And that's not just about the number of planes, and the number of companies and the number of workers, which of course is important, but it also ranks us on those really important factors like, are we training our workforce? What are we doing about infrastructure? Those are the kind of underlying factors that have led to this ranking. And so we're here to not just rest on our laurels, but think about the future and what takes us to the next level and that next generation of jobs and products and support for the economy.
Wow, that's really impressive, isn't it? So actually workforce development is my personal interest, and we have some really good opportunities in Kitsap County. It's really good for me to be here to talk to others across the state who are doing similar work so that we can begin to grow together that pipeline from into careers.
Well, one of the things we're hearing loud and clear is the importance of education, the importance of our strong community college system and our research universities. So when we get back, we'll meet together and what we learned, and then we'll go to the legislature and talk about the new investments that we need to make in education and workforce development, which of course is a passion of ours.
I'm delighted to be able to spend these few minutes with you and this whole time on the road to an aerospace economy across the Washington state. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So we're here at the Washington State booth, which is houses lots and lots of agencies from across the county, or across the state. And Robin Toth is the director of Aerospace for the Washington State Department of Commerce. We've had so many interviews already. It's only day 2, and we have talked to many, many people, to each other. And so, Robin, why is commerce here?
Well, we're here because it's really important for us to engage with our existing companies. Many of the existing companies in Washington State are here, and so it gives us a platform to meet with them, learn about any issues we may not have heard of before, and also engage with other new companies that we have targeted for potential expansion to Washington State as well.
So I know that Kitsap has a lot, we have 7 appointments today with different kinds of companies because we're interested in what we can contribute, but generally across Washington State, where are the areas of most technology occurring?
Well, we think they're occurring across the state. We know that from east to west, north to south, we have more than 1,450 companies that are involved in aerospace. Technology and innovation is a big part of it, and we're seeing it every day. We have multiple meetings set up. I think I have 8 meetings set up today to talk to companies about what they're doing, go to their booth, learn more about their technologies, because I think that's very important. And we need to be prepared for the future because these technologies will take into consideration that a trained workforce is really valuable.
So we actually have quite a few folks from Washington State, from across Washington State, here looking at different aspects of aerospace technology. How many are on this tour, and how are we going to bring some of this information back to others in Washington State?
That's a great question, Charlotte. We have more than 80 delegates here with us, and if you think that 7 meetings for your team, 8 meetings for me, multiply that times 80 and imagine how many meetings are occurring each day here at Le Bourget. We're really excited to have all of our delegates on board. It really elevates our visibility. We know that we are the top state for aerospace and we want to continue to be that. So having this great group of what I would call champions out there talking about Washington State and how great it is, it amplifies our message. So we're really looking forward to figuring out the outcomes when we get back to Washington.
I'm the Governor's Senior Advisor for Innovation and Global Affairs, which is economic development. And we're really excited to be here. We've got the biggest delegation ever coming from Washington State. We're really excited that Kitsap County is here in force as well. And the Paris Air Show is really the premier event for talking about aerospace, talking about how Washington State is the #1 state for aerospace. We've got
Teal report that's shown for the second year in a row that we're the best in many different categories: in workforce, talent, in innovation, in creating a super cluster. So it's really important to show up. You got to go where your customers are, and just being here is really important. But the kind of connections that you can make in a very condensed period of time is really invaluable. So we really appreciate everybody being part of it.
Connections with customers as well as seeing what else is happening in the field.
That's right, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the actual industry conversations. We had all those meetings, and each one was a little bit different. What did we learn? What kinds of conversations stood out the most for you?
A lot of our companies that we met with, Commissioner, we were actually targeted. They were companies that are in growth patterns or companies that want to be close to the aviation and space industries that are really active here in the Puget Sound region. And that put us directly in line here in Kitsap. Here we have PSIC, the Puget Sound Industrial Center, which is the largest industrial center west of Seattle. And with Seattle's being full and well populated, those companies are looking westward. And that's why those conversations were quite interesting. They may not be building a 747 over here in Kitsap, but they sure are going to be building parts and pieces that will accessorize those vehicles.
And we have the talent here because of the Navy presence.
Yep, very, very good topic. What struck me interesting this past year, I just want to touch on space for a moment, is at the air conference we attended, space was a very large presence this year, much larger than in years past, where if I go back and look at historical times, there was the race to fly between the United States and France, and we put planes in the air, being with the biplane and the Wright brothers. And then we went on to the jets, and then we went on to the rockets, who was going to be in space or on the moon first. And now we are seeing all these private companies, Blue Origin and SpaceX, creating space vehicles to technically have another space race as we had the air races in past historical times. And the presence and the displays from the space companies that were in France when we were there also directly correlate with our engineering and talent base here in Puget Sound and in Kitsap. If you look at the space companies that are in the state of Washington now, they're now contributing approximately $1.5 billion annually in economic impact to the state of Washington, and growing daily. And those companies are looking for places to come. In fact, we at the Port of Bremerton actually have a space company at the Port of Bremerton who has been very successful. And that is just an example of the great progress that we're able to make by creating these great partnerships.
So do you want to talk a little bit about what PSIC, Puget Sound Industrial Center, offers to that conversation?
Well, I can just touch on that. Glad to, thank you. Puget Sound Industrial Center, as I stated, was the largest manufacturing center west of Seattle. We have 3,000 acres of industrial properties available for growth and development. We are actively growing. We are meeting continually with businesses that are looking to locate to our region, and obviously one of the questions is job force. Can we provide job force? And we work with, obviously, the county, and we work with the college as well in an effort to help supply that job force and understand what those needs are. Actually,
workforce development is something that we in Kitsap work on. A regional 3-county, it's Clallam, Jefferson, Kitsap, does some Olympic Consortium workforce development planning on a regular basis, and looks at the skills, base that we have in the region, and what kinds of training opportunities that we need to develop here. And this is a great opportunity to introduce even more aerospace related. Certainly we have the industry with the Navy here, but if we could refine that even more, it's a great time for us to be taking a look at that.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're in the right place. Obviously, Kitsap's the right place to grow, and we have the industrial properties available, and we have the talent and workforce, and I think it's a great time to be here right now.
We're really well situated, and we heard great interest in that asset while we were in Paris from many of the companies that we talked to.
Yes, we certainly did. Once again, with the growth in all those industries, it's no longer just airplanes, it's rockets and spaceships and crafts, and with that industry growing like it is, we really are a hub here in the state of Washington and as well as Kitsap. And in our abilities working together with the organizations, the county, Washington State Department of Commerce, KADA, and the port, absolutely just, I think we have a great team going.
So we have a great team going, and we also had a great Washington State team while we were there. It's important to realize that this is an industry that the governor and the Washington State Department of Commerce are very interested in strengthening. It's already strong, but they want to hone it even more. We had some great conversations with our state partners while we were there, and even during some of the interviews that we had with businesses as well.
No, certainly did. It really is a benefit to have the state of Washington Department of Commerce supporting us here in Kitsap. That relationship is something we've built over the last few years. We're recognized as leaders in the region now.
Indeed we are, and the conversation that we need to put the topic that we need to look at a little bit more clearly, a little more definitively, is what exactly in Kitsap do we have to contribute to that Washington State discussion. I think we've done a great job of refining it over the years, and I think that we're right on the cusp of some very, very important information that we can distribute even more locally.
Well, absolutely, without question. What really was impressive to me last year when we were sitting in front of the CEO of the company that provides 80% of any parts that go into a Boeing jet, and he's interested in what we can do for their company and how we can offer them advanced services. That speaks volumes, Commissioner. And I got to tell you, if we weren't there showing what we have and having those relationships, our region would not be as business growth orientated as it is.
Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being with me here to discuss this. I enjoy going to France and even to KADA meetings right here in Kitsap County with you and others who are interested in expanding our capacity here. It's a natural step for us, and fasten your seatbelts. Some really exciting things are going to be happening in Kitsap County.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, for giving me the opportunity to share this time with you. It really is an exciting time here in Kitsap, and I tell you, some of the video that I hope that our viewers are going to be able to see today gives a little insight as to what goes on over there. 185 countries are there, 139,000 professional individuals are there, and as I stated earlier, 2,400 and some business exhibitors are there. So pretty much anybody on the planet that flies an airplane, space rocket, or builds anything in that defense industry, they're there. So.
Yeah. Thanks again for being here today. Thank you for joining us on Commissioner's Corner.
Mm-hmm.